Have. Ah, now we are live. Let's go.
Yeah. That Mac Miller vibe. Let's go. I wake up with the intent to make today my bitch. And I don't need it, you talking, so just shut your lips. Cause I'ma make it, yeah, I'ma make it, I'ma make it, I'ma make it. Lord have mercy, I'ma make it. Yeah, I hear the haters talking, but I don't ever listen. Keep 100 yards on distance. If you always steady bitching, don't need negativity around me. I've already risen past the bullshit animosity, and now I'm thinking different. Look, I don't know why you've been thinking broke, cause when you limit yourself, then you never know what your potential is or your room for growth. Use your brain, stop being a hoe. Sick of people acting so basic. Sick of brainless racist faces, always with the hatred. Guess it's never changing. What is this, the Matrix? This is why I'm blazing. This is how I face it, bitch. Wait, what? What am I doing? Created a movement, won't ruin what you are pursuing. But I wake up every morning, never yawning, cause I wake up with the intent to make today my bitch. And I don't need it, you talking, so just shut your lips. Cause I'ma make it, yeah, I'ma make it, I'ma make it, I'ma make it. Lord have mercy, I'ma make it. I wake up with the intent to make today my bitch. And I don't need it, you talking, so just shut your lips. I'ma make it, yeah, I'ma make it, I'ma make it, I'ma make it. Lord have mercy, I'ma make it. This shit is crazy, right?
This shit is crazy, right? We are finally here. Season 3, Episode 1. And I could not be more excited to have Danyka here with me today to kick off Season 3. How are you today?
Oh my goodness, I'm doing so well. I can't find you on my screen, but I'm so grateful to be here, and I will find you.
She's like, I cannot find you on my screen, but I know I'm here and you're here, so that's all that really matters. Make sure if you're tuning in, you hit that heart button and share for us. Goes a long way to share this with your friends. Facebook is always trying to nerf me somehow,
Oh my
some
god,
way.
it's Facebook for why?
Well, so the nerfing started back in June when I went to the Black Lives Matter protest. I was like on the front lines. I had like 8,000 views on that video in just like a sitting. And after that, I literally cannot live stream to my personal Facebook anymore, or they make it so it's friends only and I can't share it out to people.
Oh my gosh, no.
Yes. So apparently if you join the protest and get a bunch of attention, they just don't like it. But it is
Well,
what it is.
we don't love that.
Yeah,
It
I
sounds
just
you
gotta
like
build
that.
enough content to get past that, so they just leave me alone eventually. You know what I mean? Like,
Does everyone hear that? Everyone in Canada, we need content build for the site. Let's get it.
yeah, let's get it. Content is really the king, honestly, and queen. It's what rules the world. I was just talking to you before the show that literally, like, I'm just trying to get as much content as possible. I have music shows, I have video gaming, I have these shows that are supposed to be called Woke Wednesdays. I don't know if I'm like fully in love with it, but it's these are shows that are gonna y'all will see are gonna be great conversations, and you'll be able to learn things. And it's saying 0 people, which is never a thing, so I'm kind of really weirded out right now. It says I'm live, so let me just make sure everything is working here. It is weird.
What you guys are up to is really incredible from a media perspective, and I love that you guys are getting the message out there. And it's really annoying that Facebook is not supporting that.
It's all
But
right,
like the companies like In the Weeds and what's Adam saying, all this good stuff. I mean, and I think it's really incredible that you guys are creating a platform, whether, like you said, whether it's music or specifically to cannabis. Just what are you guys up to? So I'm so grateful that you had me on the show.
I know it's been a weird year because, like, typically I see so many people at all these conventions. I probably would have actually met you in person this year,
I
if
think
not.
you have.
It's not impossible. I feel like I meet so many people during this whole process that just it's like impossible to keep up with, seriously. But it's fun. I miss it so much. I seriously miss all the people and the energies and the random people there that you get to watch their mind just get blown. They're like, wait, cannabis does this? Like, there's this many cannabis businesses? Like, wait, it's becoming this legal? There's a cop over there and he doesn't care that I'm smoking right now? It's a great thing.
Never. I've smoked with a cop, which was probably
Interesting.
like the highlight of breaking, like you're saying, like all of these stigmas and all these barriers are being broken. Yeah,
That's interesting. I have not done that yet. I've never smoked weed with a cop, I
I
don't
smoked weed
think.
with a cop, and it was good.
Was it were they
Good
active?
Graham.
Were they like active duty or retired?
No, active.
Oh shit.
We
Wow,
won't
that's
name names, but and it
yeah,
was
definitely
really
not
incredible.
names.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it was a really incredible experience because I genuinely asked, what do you think about this? And they were like, hey, I go home and smoke every day.
Mhm.
So it actually breaks my heart to have to arrest people or to solicit, fines or whatever it is that we're still up to in the US.
Mhm.
By the way, we're still having in Canada. I know everybody loves that we're federally legalized. We are still having red tape that we are having to maneuver also.
That's insane to me. It's just like how you just federally legalize it and still can't get it to not have these weird red tapes where people can get in trouble if they have just a smidge over like what they're supposed to have. It's honestly gross.
Well, it's not even an okay, if we're talking about like a growing perspective, yes, we'll touch on that.
Mhm.
But it's also now coming into I mean, I guess the same way I don't really remember what you guys were up to in the States with smoking cigarettes. In Canada, we had separate areas where you'd be able to smoke in one area and not the other. So I think that is what everybody is trying to catch up to, where now we're saying you can't smoke within 30 feet of a school bus, or you can't smoke within X amount of feet in this. So I think we're from a legislation and government perspective, we're all just trying to catch up and see what that looks like. Does that make sense?
And that's the problem is they want to have all the legislative red tape wrapped around it. And like people are so confused like, "Wait, hemp isn't that like only it just gets seeds on it, right? Like it's the ugly, gross-looking plant." I'm like, "No, it's the same exact plant." And they're like, No, it's not." I'm like, no, 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 no. It is. And I can bet you that I could find CBD dominant strains that grow better than some of the THC dominant strains and have better terpene profiles and everything.
Honestly, exactly. And I'm really glad that you brought that up because when we were in, my company was in Hawaii. Very interesting. Across the hall in a conference was the hemp conference.
Mm,
Across the other was the coin conference. So I was in the washroom with a very, very gentle soul who I want to say was in her mid 50s. And she asked me, she was like, hey, what is the difference? Are you guys selling marijuana over there? And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so grateful that you asked me that. No, we're not. And she was like, so I don't get it. I'm selling coins and you do what? So the best way that I can explain it to people is when you think about citrus, right? So we have citrus as an umbrella, an orange and a grapefruit, both under the citrus umbrella, not the same.
hmm.
We have marijuana and we have hemp, both under the cannabis umbrella, not the same. That is where and she was like, oh my goodness, I can't, now I get it. Now I'm going to go grow hemp. And I was like, I'm probably think you won't, but
It's a literal breeding difference. So like somebody was like, this cultivar, I really like the way it makes me feel. I'm gonna breed this specific cultivar, keep cloning off of that, and breed that into other genetics that I like to keep going that way. And the same thing happened with somebody with CBD. Like I think it was G18 was the first CBD strain officially, and they They just had a cutting that they really liked the effects of it, and through lab testing, they discovered that it was very high in CBD. Boom. Now they start. Uh,
Fire. Yeah.
Now they start doing the genetics going towards that way, and that's literally all it takes is like a feeling. Now going back to like people really think that it's so different. It looks exactly the same. It smells the same or better. It grows the same. So I don't know. In my experience with growing large quantities of both, um, the only difference feels governmental to me. That they say it's the 0.3% THC, which isn't consistent across the world. It's not even consistent across the states. I'm pretty sure Vermont, which is like a 4 hour drive away from me, not even, is 1%. Explain that shit.
On it, I'll wait. If you can explain it, I'll wait. I will, like,
Hey, Jeff. Shout out to the Token Dead. They just wrapped up their show, too. Man, people have like a lot of entertainment from a lot of great people. They had, I think In the Weeds was this morning or maybe yesterday morning. I think it was this morning. I'm pretty sure it's Wednesday mornings. Then they had Toking with the Dead at 7 o'clock until like 8:30, and then us starting at 9, and then tomorrow morning Chef Rodney. Oh man, people are lucky.
and I'm so grateful for you guys having my sweet Canadian accent because I was on In the Weeds. Thanks, Joe. I was really, yeah, what you guys are up to, and more so the fact that you guys are getting information out there, which I think a lot of people are missing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Again. This goes back to the shows. Like one of the biggest parts of all those shows is the panels, and the panels haven't been able to be quite as effective as they used to be. You know, like everybody's still trying to figure out this whole digital landscape, and things happen like you forget to record or you don't know that it's not being recorded. You know, like
Facts.
it's a tough landscape. It really is, and we're all just trying to maneuver our way through it. Like man, it's been a hell of a ride for me because, you know, as you probably saw, we had to kind of get rid of Urban Acres and we rebranded as Urban Extracts, and you know, Urban Acres got dissolved as a business, and I basically, or is in the process of getting dissolved, and I basically fell off hardcore on the media side of everything. You know, like that's why I put up a status the other day. I was like, you know what, guys, I'm fucking back. Like, here we go. And I booked out my Wednesdays until January. I have like a month of shows booked out on the music side. The video gaming side is really fucking easy. It's like, oh, I have an hour, I'll play video games and show people. It's super easy. So, you know, for me, the accountability of having people scheduled and not disappointing my guests and telling them, oh, I can't do it this week, or forgetting. For me, I have to hold myself accountable to people. It's a tough gig. Yeah, like Jeff, you guys were doing Sundays and Wednesdays, and y'all are filming your series now, and that becomes exponentially harder to do Sundays and Wednesdays, not only because of available time, but because of how fucking tired you are from filming, or like Ben hurting himself.
Ben, stop hurting yourself.
I sent him a nice little care package. I sent him a 1,000 milligram oil and a 2,000 milligram roller, and just got to get him right, you know. I got to keep him good. I sent Jeff.
So good Ben. I think Ben needs a step ladder.
We got to get him a cane. He makes fun of Jeff for being the old man, but he's, you know, he's the one getting hurt.
Oh man, come on.
Ooh, 3 weeks. Ooh, you know, once you guys start filming outside of the holiday season, I definitely want to be involved, because right now stepping away is impossible for me. So actually, I've been meaning to talk to you about that, because Ellen Brown, which is how we met, and she is like,
Brown, I love you. Mazel tov on your accreditation, by the way. Can we all just take a moment?
yes. Big hearts up for Ellen Brown. She got her accreditation for the Cannabis Control Commission to be a reliable vendor trainer, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir. And she's been working since I met her, before I hired her for Canna Collective. She's been working on this. She's been pioneering and being a voice for veterans and everybody in mass. And honestly US as a whole, and I'm so proud of her. I'm so
Mm.
grateful to work with her. So yeah.
I wish I met her sooner. We kind of grew up in the same area. I went to high school in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and I think she was
But
in
you totally missed
Sandwich.
her. You missed Ellen in high school. She was the best.
Literally, like I don't know how I missed that fire. Like
Yeah,
Ellen's a
how
hard
did you
person to
miss
miss,
that sweet redheaded fire?
right? But fuck, I forget where I was going because like it's
Because
like impossible to not big up Ellen because she's just doing so many big things.
honestly, no, she's incredible. And yes, I digress. But the reality is that Canada was so grateful to have her, and bringing her knowledge of cultivating, like from its
Mm,
actual inception, and bringing that into a large scale. Canada Collective is incredibly grateful to have her on board. And yeah, like you said, it's incredible to see what Sensimia is doing and all that good stuff.
yeah, it's funny because I don't think I've ever really even told Ellen this, but up
Ellen,
until up until last year, I kind of like thought she was a celebrity, like
yeah,
like
we're
she is
wrong.
a celebrity, like she is. Like let's be honest, there's a lot of fucking people that know Ellen Taylor Brown.
Ellen Taylor Brown.
She's a fucking celebrity, but like I thought it was like to the point of like unreachable celebrity status type of thing.
I
So
love that.
I put out a status last year looking for help for harvesting our little tenth of an acre hemp plot, and she was like, "I'll come help," and I'm like, I don't have money or anything, and she's like, no, like I want to help. I've been wanting to see what you guys are doing, and I'm like, okay, and then she came and helped, and like that's when we really like connected because I was like, oh shit, like she's just a real person, like she's like we're around the same age, we're doing
Oh,
the
it's
same things.
amazing.
It's
Yeah.
like she's such a big deal that like I literally was looking at her from the outside like, okay, how do I get to Ellen? How do I even talk to Ellen?
Oh my God,
Like
no, Ellen's the best. And that's the thing. But and I remember I actually that before I even knew you, she and I were speaking, and she said, "Hey, I'm going to help harvest on my buddy's crop." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's incredible! Tell me everything." And she was like, "Yeah, I just got my hands dirty, and I loved everything about it, and I got to touch all the plants." So we're yeah,
it's different, right? Because you grow for fiber up there, so it's like a completely different animal.
I kind of grew up for everything.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's interesting.
So there's the fiber, kind of like just a byproduct, and you're smart in that sense for using it all, or do you purposely grow some cultivars that are meant for fiber, and some that are meant for cannabinoids, and some that are meant for what other purposes would you use for besides cannabinoids and like fiber?
So the first, by the way, you're cutting out a little bit, but I think I got the gist of it. Um, Originally, it was just for fiber and all that good stuff. When we started getting into it and realizing how good it was for all of the soil and all that good stuff, I actually have a pilot project coming up that is specifically committed to emitting CO2 gas emissions at an airport, which is
Mm.
actually going to be the first one in North America that will grow hemp industrial. And we will see what that looks like in the next year. But in addition to that, we're looking at other factories in the area that are going to be doing paper and hemp pulp and all of that. And I know that a lot of people are focused on CBD, which I fully support. What I really want everybody to start to focus additionally on is how we I mean, okay, so I say this all the time. We are looking at Lego. Lego is a massive conglomerate. They, by 2025, are hoping to shift all of their materials into bioplastic from
Yeah.
hemp. We love that. I talk about it all the time. So that's why we need these big, heavy hitter, consumer driven companies to shift their focus. And once we see that, then it's going to like be a domino effect, right? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like that makes sense. I think I've said this for a million times. I really think that I love CBD and I genuinely love the medicinal effects and all of that. But when we are looking at hemp and when we're looking at large scale cultivation, I feel like everybody needs to take 18 steps back and look at the big picture.
In what sense?
Well, like when we talk about CBD, right? That's isolated. So now we're talking about specific genetics and we're talking about what we need for that yielding and what we need for that ROI. But when we're talking about industrial hemp, it's a completely different ball game in the best way. But we need to take a step back and say, and this is just my personal opinion. It may not be 100% lucrative at this moment, but I'm in it for the long haul. And I'm not in it to make money because we need to un-F our planet. Everybody, and I've said this in interviews before, everybody's CBD, marijuana, great. Yes, I like to smoke marijuana. I like my grandparents to intake CBD because it's good for them. But the reality is we will not have a planet to grow CBD or marijuana or any of those things if we don't start thinking about longevity and about how we are reducing our carbon footprint.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more. Like, that reminds me, I definitely want to talk to you about Hawaii.
I want to talk to you about Hawaii, and I want to talk
Yes.
to you about Hawaii.
Yes, because I have some ideas. So definitely
Are you
after the
talking about
show.
Monsanto?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I have some ideas to speed up that project exponentially, to turn it from like 5 to 2 years type of thing.
I'm on that team.
Yes, and I've always wanted to go to Hawaii, so it's super easy.
You've never been to Hawaii?
No, I've never been to
Oh, I like
Hawaii.
the Hawaiian. Oh my gosh, you would have the best time.
I've never been to Canada either. Like, I can't
What?
wait till everything opens up. I have my passport and everything now. Now it's super easy. I just gotta wait for COVID to be over, and I'm there like swimwear.
Well, I'm pretty sure if you know where Niagara is, that there's an Al Pacino tunnel for Prohibition in 1920.
All right, let me just send me the GPS coordinates. I'll be able to find it.
It'll be underground.
I gotta know where the entrance is.
Honestly, you're gonna have to come with Joe, and you guys can just coyote each other in.
I'm down with it. Oh yeah, Vermont's gotta have a ton of secret tunnels
Oh,
in
no, he already
Canada.
knows.
Vermont is just a secret tunnel.
But bring
Um,
looks pretty, please.
I also wanted to talk to you about, after the show, another hemp idea I have, and I think it's the hemp idea, and it could make all of us extremely rich for not a lot of work if we can just make it happen. And I think you have the resources and possibly the know-how to do it. And I just have an idea, so we'll definitely.
Talk empty to me. Talk empty.
I think what did I say? I made like a song about that before. Oh, I was like, let's talk about hemp, baby. Let's talk about CBD.
Oh, you permission.
It is crazy though. Like, I would love to. I can't wait to see real soil tests of like just actually remediating the soil. Before we
Oh my
get.
God, you haven't seen it? I can show you. So I took over my farm in 2018. He Nana, who could not
Hey,
go today.
we'll have to have a part 2 with Nana on.
Oh man, Nana, she's the best. I cannot believe how much she believed in this. Like I came to her with this crazy idea, and I was like, by the way, she did not know that I smoked marijuana at the time. That was not a thing. But when I explained to her and I put all of the stats, you can't argue with logic and progression and all that good stuff. So Nana, you're the MVP. And then as we progressed and she learned more, which is incredibly, it's like, and I'm sure we'll speak about that, but it's breaking the stigma, right? And it's not about smoking weed. That's not the point. It's not about stoner. It's not about, now it's about creating new job opportunities, and it's creating a different lifestyle within the cannabis industry. So I think that that's really, really incredible. And now I love, so actually, speaking of our sweet, sweet friend Ellen, she sent us both the CBD necklaces. So my Nana has a CBD necklace, and when she goes for lunch with the ladies, she's like, "This is CBD. This is why it's relevant. This is why it matters." And it's incredible because, like I said, it's not about smoking weed, but it's definitely about capitalizing on that. So
Sometimes for people, that's all it takes. Is like I see so many people that are like, "Oh, whoa, that's weed," and I'm like, "Yeah, it is. Come check it out. It's like it's not gonna kill you." And then they put on a lotion that's made derived from hemp, and they're like, "Wait, I could feel it working." Like I've seen people who are like, "Ah, this shit don't work," and their hands are like this, and then they put on our salve, and they're just talking to me, and all of a sudden they're like this. And I'm like, I'm looking at their hand, just like smirking in my head, and they'll just like stop listening to what I'm saying and start looking at their hand and going like this, and then looking at me like, what kind of fucking voodoo magic did you put into this? Like,
here's Gypsy.
like they're like, I haven't moved my hand in years. I'm like,
Yeah.
there you go. Like here, I'll even take 20% off. They're like, all right, give that shit to me right now. like I know this works. I know this works. Nanas, I wanted to go back to that before we got past the Nana thing. Nanas are amazing. I've literally like tattoos on my chest for my Nanas.
What? You get one that says Nana, Bonnie, Nana.
Yep. There's one that has Garfield with boxing gloves. My Nana was like, when you go over her apartment, she on the back of her couch was like every type of Garfield and Odie stuffed animal you could find.
Yes.
She would have little trinkets around the house, Garfield, like all of her cups and like pottery. Like she had so much Garfield. Like she was obsessed. And my Nana was like,
genuine question: did she like lasagna?
Oh yeah. My Nana made a mean lasagna too. Mean lasagna, like real good. Like I don't eat meat, but if my Nana was like, I made a lasagna, I might be like, ooh. But my Nana's the type of person that would probably be like, I figured out how to do it without meat. Like, here you go, Adam. I made you a special one. Like that's how she is.
I love Nana, Adam.
Yeah, she's like she was basically my mom growing up. Like I was.
Yeah, that was my Nana.
Yeah, so she was the person who instilled in me that I am great. Like I'm like around all this suffering and drug addiction and all this crazy shit. And my Nana's like, "You're special." I'm like, "Huh? And like just it's like brainwashing. You know what I mean?
In a good way.
Yes. In a very good way. So just
shout out to Nanas.
Yes, shout out to Nanas. I miss mine every day. And if you have your Nana, be super grateful and go fucking visit her. Not right now if it's late, but tomorrow. Like if I could visit my Nana, I would give up almost anything to go like visit my Nana one time. So don't miss out on that. Also, before we get past all the hemp fiber talk, Jeff had a question. Where can I get hemp boards? I'm assuming he means like 2x4s.
Ooh, good question. That would honestly be like, nowhere in Canada right now at the moment are we selling hemp boards. But if you make the molds and you do the product, then that would be my suggestion.
Yeah,
but actually, can you ask Jeff, what is he trying to build with that though? Because what's the end result?
Jeff is a woodworker, like an artist and woodworker. So I'm assuming that he would be looking for that and to make artisan he makes furniture, he makes tables. He's amazing. His work is amazing. So he's that's
I want to talk to you because I have 100 acres that I'm trying to renovate.
There you go. Hell yeah, renovate with hemp.
Well, legitimately, my chimney is falling apart because I don't know if you had the horrible, horrible winds that we did.
Yes.
So all of the chimney is falling apart and the brick and mortar is falling apart because it was done with original brick and mortar. I just want to tell everybody, if that had been done with hempcrete and all of that good stuff, it wouldn't be falling apart.
Interesting.
So I'm going to do renovations with hempcrete.
Interesting. I'm interested in that for sure. Like, I would love to build a house with just hemp components.
I'm working with a company in Ontario. So I'm waiting for, by the way, Perth County, I see you. Please and thank you. Let me build this. So I'm waiting for my proposal to go through where I will build the first hempcrete house in Ontario.
That's exciting. That's really exciting. So would it be everything, or would like the wire, like could we get it down to like the wires are made of hemp plastic, like the coating of the wires? Like there's gotta be a way.
Like, you are music to my sweet sweet ears. Yes, there does have to be a way, but for right now, we're looking at like the actual structure.
Yeah, yeah, that
I
makes
want
sense.
everything to be done because you're right. There's no reason why it shouldn't be. It just comes into finance, which is really kind of crappy when you think about it, right? Everybody wants to make a buck, which fair enough. We all have to eat,
Yep.
but nobody's looking long term.
Yes, and it's hard to look long term, right? Because you got to start making like profits somewhere typically in order to like be able to get
Which is
going.
sustainable. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's important to be flexible in your thinking about how you're getting into hemp and CBD or just hemp, like don't not even CBD because I mean I've been preaching all year that I'm going to save farming through hemp. And the way I was going to do that was to be like, hey, stop growing corn and wheat and grow hemp instead. But that's not really sustainable for a farmer, right? Because now they're losing their guaranteed crop and getting into something that's extremely volatile and extremely potentially dangerous to their farm. And that's what I've been just racking my brain all year working on methods that I could get farmers to save their farm with hemp but still do the things that keeps the guaranteed money coming in, so they're making profit on the hemp side no matter what, even if they're getting paid $50 a pound or whatever biomass goes for. Like it's usually goes for a lot less than that, unfortunately, but um yeah, so that's definitely what I'm trying to work on. um
Where are you guys netting out on that? Like,
what's that?
where, like in the US, where are you guys netting out on that when you and I respect everything about that. What does that look like next step?
The next step is just starting at the right time. So this year I started in July with my experiment crop from seed, and unfortunately we had one of the worst droughts in our area. So it's like a double whammy. I'm starting in July on unfarmed land in the middle of a drought, and and I was by myself. Like I was getting no help from former people in my business, and just was like it just took too long to prepare the land. It took too long, and that became a total failure. So now I got to start that. I'm gonna start prepping in April, planting in May, and get my first crop in the ground in May. And I'll talk to you more about that after, because I don't want to talk too much details on that, because I think it's going to be something big for the hemp
Ooh,
industry.
I'm excited for you, and I would love to talk more about that. Yeah.
But so that's my next step, and so I had to take a step back and really start just listening more to farmers and realizing that while I may understand agriculture a little bit, I don't fully understand farming, and especially farming at scale. I was very humbled this year. The landowner, he looked at me and said, "How many acres do you think this is?" I said, like 3." Yeah, sure. And then he charged me what he charged me, and I was like, that's a fair number. Sure, I'll pay that. I paid it, and then I started prepping the land, which meant I was measuring out and creating sections, and I was like, wait a second, this is 1 acre. And he just like looked at me with his arms folded, like smirking, like, 1 acre, huh? I thought it was 3. You sounded pretty confident about that. I was like, yeah, yeah.
What?
He's
You
like, this
know,
is
you
just
need
one
your money
acre,
back.
Adam, and he's like, look at how much work this was. 1 acre. This is what I wanted you to realize. You need farming equipment. You can't do this all by hand. You need this. You need this. You need this. And then throughout the season, he would just be like, oh, having trouble with that, and then he'd bring like one piece of machinery and finish it in a half hour. I'm like, fuck, man. Like, all right, you're right. And one of the things he said and a couple other farmers said is that if we don't get snow this winter, we're going to be in for just as bad of a growing season next year. So I have to keep that in mind.
Well, yes. And I actually love that story so much because you're right. When I first took over the farm, keep in mind my background was public relations, communications, beauty, lifestyle. When I came into that, people started calling me a farmer. I actually took offense to that. And I was like, I'm not a farmer. I'm no, what do you mean? I'm a learned doctor. Here's the thing. If anybody does not have respect for farmers, shame on you.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is next level. It's amalgamating infrastructure within business, agriculture, supply and demand. It is it is the next
Tons
level
of
thing.
regulations.
Thank you, right? And people don't understand that. And all these other farmers, like we were talking a little bit briefly, saying, "Oh, I can grow what I want on my property." Unfortunately, that's not the way it works anymore. So farmers, it's a completely different thing. And I have the utmost respect for these old dogs that have played into it. And I have people that are like, I had a meeting the other day. He point blank said, I do not know how to grow hemp, but I want to. I want to learn more.
Mm.
Right now, I grow corn, right? So it's a cash crop, but that's a set in ROI each year. So, and it was shocking to me to find out that there's a higher suicide rate from US, from farmers, from veterans. And now I understand it.
Yeah, I heard a lot of horror stories over the past couple of years of hemp farmers like just putting all their money, pulling out mortgages, all this crazy shit in order to hemp farm, and then they have a failing crop and they just kill themselves. Like it's really sad, honestly, and it's tough because it's like systemically create it's like again another system that is created to work against the people that it's supposed to work for. Again, in America, right? So they have all this land in America right now that's 51A protected land, or 91. I can't remember the fucking acronym. I can never remember the laws. I'm terrible with them, but it basically means that we can't grow hemp. That's one of the stipulations. If you have protected land, you can't grow hemp. And I'm like, why? Because you know how farmers are gonna make money, and like that's the only way that farmers can survive is by putting their land as protected, so they pay a lower tax bracket on it, and now they're trapped. Now they can't even have a cash crop. Like fuck that. Like how that's really messed up. You're basically gonna force them into poverty,
Yeah.
and people don't even realize that that is happening with farming and I've been just working really hard to try to make people aware of that.
It ain't easy being a farmer.
No, no, especially when you're a farmer that has a retail business as well and customers and all this stuff. It's that's funny that you said you kind of were offended when people called you a farmer. I kind of was like that a little bit when I'd be like at the kiosk and I'm dressed nice and like this is the farmer and I'm like I'm kind of like the CEO, the owner. Like I also do farm. Like I manufacture. Like I mean, don't call me one title. Like if that's a one title, call me like the owner or the CEO.
Yeah.
But it is kind of like a when people meet the farmer, they know that that's the person that put in the work.
And see, and I love when you see that because that's the thing. I didn't have the respect that I should have for that title.
Mhm.
When it's like, oh my gosh, no, you're the one that's out there in the field every day, double, triple checking, doing soil analysis to get, like, in your case, to get that end product. So I am respectfully a farmer and I love everything about it. And I don't think that I've earned that title.
You definitely have. You definitely have.
I sleep in the dirt. That's fine.
Somebody said encourage the cash crop while keeping their cash crop. That's definitely
that
where it's at.
cash, that comes into crop rotation, which I
Yes.
actually love that they said that. That's the way to make everybody happy, and that's what I'm doing this season. Is I'm doing soy in cran rotation, and I'll be doing 50 acres. But yes, I completely agree with that. And we know that we all need to work together. Also, I don't think a lot of people talk about enough about cover crops. So in Canada specifically, and you guys too, because you're close to the border,
Mhm.
all that good stuff. That is really good for the soil, and that is another stream of revenue for farmers and all that good stuff. So do a cash cover crop, do wheat, do soy, whatever, and then it
Yep.
actually adds to the soil when you're ready to grow.
It's a little late for it, but garlic is another great one.
Ooh, I already planted garlic.
Yes, garlic is a great one because not only does it ward off a lot of pests, so you don't start your season with any pest problems, but God, garlic is so good and good for you. Like,
People
and
don't talk enough. I love that you said people do not talk enough about garlic.
yep. The farmers that are on the same plot as me, they're growing garlic this year, and they planted like 1,000 bulbs. I think they said. Ooh, that's gonna be so much fucking garlic.
It's gonna smell, but luckily we don't have vampires.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting what it does to deer. I wonder if it'll kind of like ward off deer as well, if
I
there's
know
enough of
deer
them.
love garlic.
Oh, interesting. Well, they're fucked. They have so many crops that like, man, we can't keep the deer off this shit.
No, deer. I'm not going to say something poor about deer because we love them, but they love everything.
mm, yeah, they're not
They
picky.
don't discriminate. They eat it, they'll eat it.
Especially when it's a baby. They love like the mud
Oh, they're
roast.
so cute. Yeah.
Um,
I'm
s-
such a sucker when you bring up, I'm like, oh, fawns, yay. But
it's
no,
fu-
very seriously.
it's funny because it's weirdly enough, like I was saying earlier, I don't eat meat. I haven't for 4 years now, something like that. But I'm thinking, I have thought about, I don't know if I am thinking, but I have thought about going hunting. And here's my logic behind it.
Okay, lay it on me because I'm anti-hunting, but I do let my uncle hunt, only my uncle on my property.
So, factory farming is messed up, and it's one of the reasons I don't eat meat. Factory farming is indeed killing the world. It's one of the leading causes to pollution and CO2 gas emissions in the world. People don't even think about that when they think about saving the environment. Like if we just had less factory farms and we ate a little bit less meat, we would put a big old dent in our carbon emissions. But that's one point. So with hunting, you me with my wife and my daughter, if they ate the meat, I don't think they would. I would be able to kill 2 animals a year and feed my whole family. Me being the person I am, I know when I killed them, I would bawl my eyes out. I would cry, and I'm not really religious, but I'd
Oh
probably
my gosh,
like
you're gonna be like forgetting Sarah Marshall. I'm not crying, you're crying.
I would be openly bawling. I don't care who's making fun of me. Like taking a life is it should be hard. And I've heard a lot of my hunter friends that have been hunters for many years say to me, I feel like men are a little bit more open with me about stuff because they know like I don't give a fuck. I'm like, yeah, I cried about that, and they're like, yeah, like I totally have cried over killing an animal before. Like
I mean, you have a soul if you didn't. In the next
right, right. And I mean, it's emotional too for them. Like, I think about it's this is awesome that my fiance's dad does not have social media, so he can't hear this. But I think about him, right? He's gone hunting in Maine for the past. I've been with my fiance for almost 6 years now. He has never come home with a deer. So,
So wait, does that mean that he secretly catches all the feels, or is a shitty hunter?
it could just be bad timing and bad luck. It could just be
Oh,
that. But so in my mind, when the year comes that he does finally get a deer, I bet you, knowing the guy he is, and he's never gonna admit it to anybody except maybe me, he's gonna cry if he gets a deer. 'Cause it's if you think about that, 6 years spending 2 weeks up in the woods every year, so 12 weeks of work, and he finally gets a deer. Like that's and he knows it's gonna feed the family, and he's gonna use every part of it. He's gonna donate it. You know what I mean? Like for him, it's emotional, and I totally get that. Now, I don't know if I can get past the texture. That's why I haven't done it. Like now that I don't eat meat, the fake meat stuff, like a lot of it freaks me out because the texture is too much like meat. I'm like, I don't know, man. Is this real? Are they just tricking me?
well, we will live and die not knowing.
Literally, because there's probably way less lab testing on that than there is on our hemp.
Legitimately. Legitimately. And that's another thing that they like, and I'm not mad about pesticide testing and all that stuff. I think that it's very, very important. But Health Canada last, I want to say May, came out with a new policy that it was an additional 900 Canadian to have all of your plants tested before you could even remotely crop or harvest.
They're just always looking for a way to like just make more money off us, and
Yeah.
it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing because, like, just here in Massachusetts alone, I don't even know the numbers from this year. I haven't gotten a public record request yet, but the last time I did a public record request, which was towards the end of last year, so literally before any new applicants came in for this year, there was 120 farmers, and there's 6 people on the whole department. There's a head of the department, there's 3 inspectors, there's a head of pesticides, and there's a lawyer.
And that's it.
That's it. To look over 120 farms, and going at the trajectory that it's been at, there was probably 160 plus farms this year. And
That's insane.
they were not doing inspections for people that were already licensed.
So that means that they just got expedited. How does that work?
So this year, I added 3 properties onto my license without having them come visit the property whatsoever. Typically, they have to come out and inspect it, which is kind of stupid, honestly, because they already have the GPS coordinates and the overhead and everything, and they literally come and like look around and they're like, "Yeah, looks good," you know.
And that's it.
Yeah, they don't really do a heavy duty inspection. When we did have processing, we were like, this is where we're going to process. They didn't ask like, well, what methods are you using? What's your exhaust method? How are you going to, what's your, like, they didn't ask any kind of questions. They're like, okay. And I was like, hey, so what's the protocol on us to use ethanol extraction? So that way do we need an explosion proof room? Do we need, they're like, I don't know, that's not us. Talk to your local zoning. And then you call the local zoning. You're like, "Hey, I'm trying to do ethanol extraction with hemp." They're like, that's CCC. That's the marijuana side." And you call them, and they say, "We don't have anything to do with hemp. That's the board of health." You call the board of health, and they say it's the FDA that has a hold of it. And then you call the FDA, and they say it's the Department of Agriculture. And then you just keep going in a circle forever. So,
So,
yeah.
oh my gosh, so what a deal. Because I'm looking at a processing facility in Ontario. I need to then send it to the board. They need to look at the specs, and I'm talking like per room specs.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me that you guys are just like in the US, you're like, whatever.
Yep. Yeah, just bought a bunch of equipment, bought a ethanol, everything.
All the good stuff.
All of it. If we didn't know what we were doing, luckily we did. Like there could have been bad shit that happened. Like it's a huge possibility, and
Well,
that's
I think that's a very important point that you bring up too, is you knew what you were doing. Kids, do not try this at home. Do not spend
no,
millions of dollars. Do not think that you know what's cute.
no.
Unless you know what you're doing, don't do it. And I
Yep.
think that that's very, very important for people to know.
Even just using alcohol, you could
Yeah,
literally kill yourself blowing yourself up. Like it's very possible.
don't touch it. Don't do it. Don't do
Mhm.
it.
Mhm. Um. So I remembered what I was gonna say when we got off on our Ellen tangent. So she had said one time that we have a lot in common, you and I. She didn't
Mm,
really. Yes. She didn't really expound on it too much, but I think it's a lot to do with coming from sales and marketing and media and being thrust into a farming world. And like I said, she didn't really like go too deep on it, but I've always wanted to talk to you about that because I don't know
I was
too much
doing
about
it.
your background.
That's really. I kind of feel like you need to hold on. Give me 2 seconds. That's fine.
Okay,
Molly, you know.
I feel you talking a lot. Like I need water too. Ah, man. It takes training. I don't know how Joe Rogan does it. He'll go for like 4 hours and then he'll go and do another podcast right after for 4 hours. I'm like, you are a madman. I think what he does is he has, um, you know, he does like 3 in a day and then doesn't work for like a week.
Wait, who?
Rogan.
Oh, I'm shortlisted to be on that show.
No way.
Facts.
No way.
I've been pining for it for a moment and to talk about hemp because we all know that he's all about, being pining
Oh.
for it.
Oh, how do you even fuck? I
But
want to talk
I'll
to
send
him.
you the link when we get off this. I'll send you the link.
Oh, there's like a. Oh, okay, very well.
Oh
You know,
no, oh
I
no,
was,
it's a thing.
I was heartbroken when Rogan started repping CBD MD. I think he's repping one of those brands, and I'm like, oh.
And
Every time that they get to somebody before me, like Calvin Cater, he's a UFC fighter out of Massachusetts. He's actually about to fight the number one ranked featherweight, I believe, in the UFC. And then if he wins that fight, he's gonna get a title shot. So it's really huge. His mom owns a CBD shop. She carries our product. I've been giving him product for like a year and a half, and I must just not have played my cards quite right because he chose another brand, and I saw it the other day. He had a commercial for them, and I'm like, no. I sent it to my fiance, and she's like, fuck, 'cause she like knows what that means, like how hard
oh,
I've worked to try to get that, and I'm just like, oh man, that sucks. And the other company is like smaller than mine, so I'm like, I'm kind of hoping that it's like one of his friends or maybe his mom is finally starting up her own brand. Like I would so be on board with that. But you win some, you lose some.
literally, baby. Here's the thing: easy come, easy go, and you will be affiliated with these things. Your company is amazing. Your platform is amazing. Slow and steady, right?
Exactly. I follow Gary Vee's approach a lot. He had nobody listening to his shows forever, and now everybody listens to him.
Right.
But yeah, I wanted to go back to talking more about like your background. Like why did she say that we have a lot in common? It's been something that's racked my brain since she said it, and like
Really?
yeah, so like me,
I kind of want Al to get on the show to be like, Al, what did you mean?
right? Like what did you mean by that? Like
Alan!
I wonder, let's see. So my background is I came from music. Like I made music my whole life. I guess I'm getting sort of back into it. Like I came out with a group album, coming out with a solo album soon, like doing all that stuff.
Amazing. Muscle up.
Thank you. So I've been doing that since I was 13. I'm 30 now. So literally my whole life. At one point in my life, I was starting to get a buzz, opening for big artists like Cassidy and Waka Flocka and Afroman and Hobson and Snow the Product, and the list goes on. There's a lot of artists on there, and
Love
I just got kind of burnt out from it, and yeah, I just kind of was. I had kids too. That was a big part of it, honestly. Like after I had kids, I was like, okay, dad time. It's like it's immature to be a rapper, so I just kind of like stopped, and got into media immediately from there because it was like, okay, I know how to audio engineer, I know how to edit videos, I know how to market myself, I know how to talk to people in public. Okay. This directly correlates with what media does. Let me hop into media. And
that.
then and then my love for cannabis, which, by the way, my dad was a head grower of I think, I don't even know, I haven't talked to him in like 2.5 years, but he's a head grower of a nursery, like a local nursery, and has been since I was 4 or 5. And so he's like instilled this agriculture into my head. Like he'd be like, "That's a dogwood," and then he'd say like the genus and species and Latin name of it, when it flowers, everything about it, every single plant that basically he could drive by and do that. So I had been telling him like his business that he worked for needs to get into marijuana. Like it's about to pop. It's about to start legalizing. This was like 2012 when I started getting in his ear about it. And he's no way, no way, no way. That's a crapshoot. No way that's ever gonna happen. And then it's like that year Colorado legalized, and then
Is that Colorado?
whoop, whoop. And then a few years later, it was like 2015. I'm telling my dad the same thing. Like, is your boss ever gonna get into this? Like, you're about to go out of business and you're about to lose your job. Maybe you want to suggest something to your boss to keep it going. And no way, he'll never be for it. Never before. It's never gonna legalize in Massachusetts. A year later, Massachusetts legalizes. I'm like, all right, very well. So you're just not gonna listen to me. And it's funny because the last time I actually talked to my dad, I went into where he works because I was visiting another farmer to talk to him about hemp. And the person who was like the gatekeeper of that farm lied to us and said, we were like, "Hey, is this so and so farm?" He said, "Huh? No." And I looked at the address, I read the number, I looked at my GPS, the number matched. I read the number like 91 State Street, blah, 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 Farms. Are you sure? And I'm like looking at fucking 25 greenhouses in the back, like clearly some sort of agricultural business. No, no.
Something's happening.
Yeah, so I'm leaving there and I'm racking my brain. Like, my former partner was like sitting in the passenger seat, and I'm just like, what just happened? That's definitely that farm. What just happened? Like, we're in the middle of nowhere, so like nobody's coming behind me at the stop sign. I'm there for like a solid, I don't even know, probably 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, fuck it. I'm like looking at my dad's business. I'm like, I could go ask him if that's the farm. I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. So, because that's how close it was. Like when I realized where I was, when I got to the stop sign, I'm spacing out. I'm literally like, what just happened? What just happened? I look up, my dad's business is right there, and I'm like, I could go say hi. I'm like, I haven't talked to him in a while. So I take a left and I drive past the business. And then who drives past me?
Your dad.
My fucking dad. And I was like, oh, okay. I looked at my old partner. I'm like, that was my dad that just drove by, dude. I gotta fucking turn around. Like that's like that's a sign. So then I turn around, I go to talk to him, and I ask him if that was the farm. He's like, yeah, it definitely is. Like, and they're laughing about it because they lied to us. Like, he's like, why didn't you just tell him you were my kid? And like, I was like, I don't play that card. I don't need to play that card because like he's well known in that industry. And we got to talking, blah blah blah. His boss was overhearing what me and my old partner were talking about, and I could hear his ears perk up. He's on the phone, but I could hear him listening to us, like, and I'm just like, this is so funny. And then I'm looking at the desk where they keep all their magazines, farming, lifestyle, and yada yada yada. And I see the corner of a magazine that says CANN, and I kind of push away the magazines, and it's cannabis. And I keep looking through, and it's cannabis, 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 cannabis. And I'm like, so if he would have just brought this up to his boss and said, my son knows about this, he's super passionate about it, it's my son, you should listen to him, maybe he could have saved the business. and I'm pretty sure they're being sold because I farm in the same town that his nursery is in, and they're like, "Oh wait, so and so nursery aren't they out of business? They finally get sold." I'm like, "Oh shit, I didn't know they were like on the market." I thought it was just still talks, and just goes to show you have to be flexible. You have to be flexible in entrepreneurship. So yeah, that's my background. I don't know why Ellen says that is very much like yours.
I mean, I just messaged Alan. I was like, hey, why all the good hype? Um, I mean, kind of to touch on your dad, my dad, and I've actually never talked about this. Other magazines have asked me to talk about it in interviews, and it's not relevant, but my dad passed away 2 years ago. And right before I
Sorry to
took
hear that.
over the farm, thank you. But right before I took over the farm, he passed away from a heroin addiction. Nobody had done research on CBD. And so many people have said, and legitimately, you're the first person that I've talked to about this. Because I don't think that should define you, and I don't think that it's, like I said, definitive of what you're up to in your career. What I want to focus on is that there was no research. He was, oh my gosh, he was 46 when he died, ish. We don't know, but he was on 186 milligrams of methadone, which in Canada, feel me,
Ooh.
not normal, not normal. He should have been weaned off to at least like a minimum of 16. Nobody was paying attention. Nobody was paying attention to what CBD could do for that. You know, my dad was somebody, he didn't even smoke weed. Like, he was not somebody who did that. He really liked heroin. And instead of our government subsidizing things that would actually be useful, they subsidize things that would be lucrative for them and keep somebody in the system and blibbity blah blah bullshit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I hear stuff like that, I think that's where like I'm more extra motivated. But I find it interesting that I think it's more of our media background that Ellen finds us to have in common.
Probably. I think so.
Yeah.
Media and like non-farmer lifestyle going into a farming lifestyle just for the purpose of helping. I think, like it's not always glamorous. It's far from glamorous. I've
Ooh.
definitely made way more money. But it's worth it.
Oh my gosh, it's so worth it. And so I maybe this is where Ellen and Elle finds that we get along or have more in common. My background is public relations, communications. I have an undergrad in hospitality management and a degree in public relations, blah, blah, blah. So when I started into the industry, it was through a director of marketing position at a startup community in Toronto. They were getting poised to be, so what my job was to make sure that they had all of their SOPs and all that good stuff in order to be absorbed by a publicly traded company in the US. Fine. But then I got obsessed with that in a good way. And I was like, oh my gosh, tell me more about CBD. Tell me more about farms. Tell me more about all this good stuff. And I then converted and like left literally everything about my career, converted my farm and dove into agriculture like you did. So I guess that's what we have in common.
Yeah. That's got to be it. It's really got to, because it does sound super familiar. Minus having
Also,
like
we're
degree.
both badass and also very, very cool. So, yeah.
There is that. Oh. Hold on. Look, I made my daughter a noodle. I thought it was going to be a necklace, but she has too big of a head for it to fit over. So it became a noodle bracelet. and then I put it in my hair, and I just when I like looked down, I just realized it was there. That's so funny. My fiance like dyed noodles, so
Oh my
like
God, that's incredible.
she's like our daughter's about to be 2, so she's like super getting into colors and letters and all that stuff.
I
That's
love
funny.
everything about that. And hey, that's a quick question. What position as a parent in the cannabis industry do you take with your little babes?
As far as
Just information, like what you do, if like when you do shows, when you're talking about cannabis or you're smoking cannabis, what is the message that you relay to your little babes?
I tell them it's medicine. I don't really smoke in front of them, and if I do, I'm very cognizant about smoke being away from them. Just 'cause I do think smoke probably isn't the greatest thing to inhale, no matter what kind of smoke it is. So just to keep their lungs healthy. I do get really angry, not angry, but just like the fuck when cigarette smokers are like giving me shit about smoking when they're smoking a cigarette next to me. I'm like, your smoke is actually really hurting them. Mine isn't, and I'm doing my best to keep it
Yeah.
away from them. Like, I don't know, I'm not a cigarette smoker, so I could smell that shit forever away. Like, I know they can too. So yeah, I tell them it's medicine. My son, I tell him like it's hemp. When he sees like traditional cannabis around marijuana, I tell him it's hemp. Like he doesn't have any questions. I said it's hemp. It's medicine for daddy, and he okay. And it's that simple. Like if only adults got it. Like my
Right?
daughter, um, my fiance took CBD through her whole pregnancy. She still does. Um,
I love that. Yeah.
it's something that's a little scary, only 'cause there's like not a ton of studies and whatnot. But I felt comfortable, and she felt comfortable. So and she still takes it now, and she's still breastfeeding. So meaning my daughter gets cannabinoids, 'cause there's cannabinoids in breast milk, and she's just enhancing her cannabinoid content within her breast milk. Um, when my kids are older, I definitely want to have the talk with them about moderation, and I definitely want to have the talk with them about their brain and protecting their brain. And as good as cannabis can be, until we can know for sure that it's not going to cause any kind of change in your brain that's negative, I don't want you to do it too much, until you're like 21, 25. I know, like that's not
84.
84. Just never do it. I'm just kidding. But I don't know. Like I just sometimes I think like, we've all smoked a lot of swag weed in our life. And those chemicals we've smoked have, like my anxiety's gotten worse as I've gotten older. Has the stress of life contributed to that? Yes, but maybe to the excessive amounts of drinking I was doing when I was younger and the smoking of swag weed, maybe even salvia. There was one time I remember seeing a bunch of colors and my friend ended up running naked up the road. Like, there's these these things we do when we're younger and don't know any better that really fuck up our brain. And sometimes I think like, would my memory be better if I just treated my brain a little bit better? And that's the talk I want to have with my kids. Like you see how forgetful dad is. Like, do you want to be like dad? Maybe you'll have a chance to not be as forgetful as me, but be as smart. All the good qualities of me, like without the forgetfulness. Maybe I just did.
No, hold on though. That's a really good point, and that's really interesting. And I completely understand where you're coming from. Do you think, and like you said, you touched on swag, and I completely agree with that. Do you think that it would be different the way that now we know an indica or a sativa affects us, right? So, like when I'm going to sleep, or if I'm not feeling well, or my grandparents, like we touched on, what is it that you need in this scope? Do you think that the conversation would be different if your 16-year-old came to you and said, "Hey, I'm going to smoke weed. What strain should I smoke?"
I would love for that to happen because
Yeah.
then it's like, and I think this is something that I don't know if my fiance and I fully agree on it, but I have said multiple times that if I know our kid is smoking, I would much rather it come from me.
right?
Much rather, because I know for a fact I'm gonna buy you
The best,
exactly what you need, and it's gonna be safe. It's gonna be from somebody I trust that grew it the way I
or
know,
you grew it, yeah.
or I grew it. Yeah, because we should have a house by then and all that stuff. The building process should be done, you know.
All good stuff, yeah.
So they're gonna be around it and around the plants and everything. Like, it's when it comes to that, I hope my kids are open enough, and I hope that we can have that relationship where they trust me enough to come to me and be like, Dad, I like smoking weed, like, but you know, you've had these talks with me about there being a lot of unsafe stuff out there. Like, I wanted to come to you and get something safe. Like, I would much. Obviously, I'm not stupid, and if my kid's getting like a QP a week, I'm not gonna be like, "Yo, fam, you're dealing weed to all your friends. Knock the shit off, cut the shit." Like, I know what's going on.
No, I see you, I
I,
see you.
like,
But
yo, you don't know your dad like that, but come on.
like little do you know, yeah. No, I completely respect that because like I don't have kids myself. I love kids. I love everything about it. I personally I don't it's not my jam, but
I said the same thing before I had kids. I'm never having fucking kids. I used to say to my best friend, like, dude, what are you doing? Why do you have 4 kids? What is wrong with you?
oh my gosh, I was literally my girlfriend, she has 4 kids and I love all of them. And none of them can pronounce my name. So that I don't shit on anyone because it's Aunt Nika.
My fiance was like really questioning me. I was like, Danica. She's like, Danica. And I was like, Danica, Danyka. Danica. She's like, no,
Didn't give
Danica.
them.
I was like, Danica. I know. I've talked to her. It's how she pronounces it.
Well, it's not Danica Patrick, so that's what we know.
Yeah.
But like low key, before I got into the CBD market and all, like I've always obviously smoked cannabis, but I was really nervous about my niece and nephew coming to the farm and thinking that I was super boring. Because I'm like, well, what do I do now? I don't have the Toronto condo. I don't have the indoor pool. Here's what I do. I grow plants and I love it. But do you love it? Oh my goodness. So I taught them all the good stuff about phytoremediation and about soil rejuvenation, why it's important that we need hemp and why it's important that we need magnesium in the soil, all this stuff. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm the most boring aunt ever. You're never gonna want to come back. Tell me 2 weeks later, they sent me this video, and I will post it because it's the cutest thing ever. And they made their own. So I showed, oh my gosh, I don't know where it is, but I have like all of my soil analysis. So it shows like for blah, 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 where I need more lime, where I need more, all that good stuff. They made their own book and planted their own seeds.
That's so
and made
cute.
this like really beautiful tray and made a video, and they were like, Aunt Nika, here's our book. And it's like that old school, you know what I mean? Like the book. Yeah.
Yes.
And it was like soil, hemp, growing. And I was like, what? I'm like, you guys took that away. And they were like, we just love. And I was like, oh my goodness, I love everything about what you're doing. How can I help you? They were like, well, you said something about germination. How do we do that? And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so on your team. I was like, take the seed, put it in a little bit of water, give it a day. Like, and they're 8. They're 8. And I was like, well, I get free farm hands. Let that be known. I see you.
I see you.
But it was the takeaway was that it was really cool to see youth get excited about agriculture.
Yeah.
I love everything about that.
You don't think that they would, but I think in like such a digital age, that's so different for them.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I love that you said that. Exactly. It's like you can be on your computer, your phone, whatever it is, but when you actually get to grow something yourself and Like, I mean, I don't know what generation you grew up. Like, I rolled around in mud and did all that fun stuff.
Yep. Played outside all the
So
time.
yeah, and so computers and all that was different to me, and I appreciated it. Now, exactly to your point, it's like it's the opposite. So here we grow, and I love little babes getting excited about agriculture because we're going to unfuck the planet.
That was me. My dad used to take me to is where he worked and be plugging trays. You know, by the time I was 7, 8 years old, I'd be at work plugging trays with the old lady Barbara. I remember she got me a. I still have it actually. That's like one of the.
Wait, hold on, did you just call her old lady Barbara?
She was very old, and her name was Barbara. So, yeah.
Respect, R.I.P. old lady Barbara.
She was a sweetheart. I still have a card from her. She actually, it was the year the Sacagawea coins came out, 2000, and I turned 10. So she got me a birthday card, a 10th birthday card, and inside of it was a smiley face made with 10 of the dollar coins, the Sacagawea ones. I still have it.
Barbara, we love
It
Barbara.
was super cute, and I remember like she showed me about, I don't know, she made me passionate about planting stuff and being in the dirt and soil and growing, and
That's so cool.
it was cool. Yeah, like I became a liability because I was one of those kids that I saw an animal and could not resist trying to pet it. And his boss had a boar, like a fucking big boar, and I was like, "Whoa, piggy!" And going up to it, try to pet it, and the thing rammed me in the leg. And I'm just like bleeding, and he's like, he's like, "Glenn, you can't bring your son to fucking work anymore. He's becoming a liability. He's gonna cost me insurance claim. Blah 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 blah." Like,
Honestly, I'm not really mad at that
no.
because I wrote my thesis on genetically micro mini pigs. So I get the pig affiliation. I get it.
Yeah, I just animals.
But then we're allowed back.
Honestly, when I think back to it, I kind of was actually that way with animals until like last year. I
Oh
just
my gosh, what happened last year?
I got attacked by a big German shepherd.
What?
Yeah, like I got bit in the ribs.
What did you do to it?
Nothing. I just walked in the backyard and the owner didn't tell his dad who that I was coming, so he was just feeding the dog and had the kennel open, and I just walked by, and I just, next thing I know, I feel like his nose on my hand, and I'm like, what the hell? And he just lunged at me. And I had like a thick sweatshirt on, luckily, with like fur in it, but you could see the teeth marks ripping through it. And then I have scars of all four of his canine on my ribs because he grabbed me and ripped me down. And I just started yelling like, fuck, fuck. And the owner, his dad, heard me, and he yelled, and the dog tucked his tail and ran, and I went inside, and we were actually having like an investor meeting. We were trying to get this guy to, his boss owned like a shit ton of Dunkin' Donuts and had a bunch of money, millions of dollars. We're trying to get him to invest. So I just was like, I don't even care. I don't even care. Like I was like in adrenaline mode. I just want to get this meeting going. And he started feeding me whiskey, and I got through a whole 2.5 hour long business meeting directly after getting bit by a dog. Then woke up in the morning and grand opened the Good Vibes store in Taunton, and then performed that night. All after getting bit by a dog. Like I was in, the way I describe it is, it felt like I got punched in the ribs by Mike Tyson. Like I could hardly breathe. It sucked, and
Oh my gosh. I'm
it changed how I interact with animals 100%, especially dogs. I don't, yeah.
no, and that's honestly that is incredibly fair. I mean, I'm not going to acrobat, but I have a scar on my ankle that I got bit by a dog and I had 160 stitches. Legitimately, this motherfucker, I hate that is live, but missed my Achilles tendon by a millimeter. Legitimately a millimeter. So I completely get that. And that's why, like, when people come to my house, like, I have a Belgian Malinois and a Rottweiler. So if I don't know that you're coming, don't knock on the door because my dogs will eat you. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? I don't know what else to tell you. But, oh my gosh, no, that's,
It was definitely scarring. It was definitely scarring, and it kind of sucks. This is another reason I can't wait to have a house though, so I can own a dog again. You know, like get used to it again and be feel safer, but never too safe. You know, like it taught me to be more cautious around dogs because you just never know.
well, I think it's going to change too when you have your house and you have the dogs there. Like, so it's interesting. Sophia is a Rottweiler. She will not leave my side. Like, anywhere I am, like, she's currently under my desk. I don't even know how she fits there, but she does. Bali is a Belgian Malinois, so he's like the shepherd in him, and he's parameter. So he's constantly always checking. And that's the thing. And I tell people, I'm like, I live by myself on 100 acres. Their job is to protect me.
Yep.
So if somebody random comes, their job is to protect me. And in the nicest way, I'm not going to shit on them for making sure that nobody comes in. And that also extends to the hemp farming and all that good stuff. Where they, like, you know, when they've seen, there was, I think it was maybe 4 people, and they were young and silly. And Sophia, who usually doesn't move, like, watch a 200-pound Rottweiler move. It's fun. Dipped out into the field, and I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And I saw these bunch of teenagers that were just drinking and smoking weed and living their truth. And I said, hey, here's the thing. I actually am not mad at you for that, but this is private property. My dog will eat you. I don't know what to tell you. And they were like, oh my God. So they left all their bottles, whatever. And Sophia chased them off the freaking property. Oh my gosh. Those are things you can't get mad at the dog for doing. They're doing their job. Sophia's job is to protect me and Bali and the house and him when it grows. Bali's job is to be a 2-year-old retard puppy who doesn't know what day it is.
I fucking love it.
Like, just let him live his truth. Be good.
There was definitely like a series of events that led to that moment too, right? So I guess the owner, he was telling me he was throwing a tennis ball with his dog like he normally does, and he said he threw it, and all of a sudden a dog came through the woods as his dog was running towards the edge of the woods, and the dog attacked him, and he got into like a fight. He kind of like yelled off the dog. The other dog scurried off, and he took his dog. Not long after that, a woman, they didn't really have like a fence. They had like one of those wooden log fences that's like 2 logs, one on top, one on the bottom, like anybody could get through it or over it. And a lady was walking on the sidewalk, and the dog went up to her, and I guess he's fucking big. He's like the biggest German Shepherd I've ever seen. He's scary. And
bigger than my dog Bali.
Maybe, I don't know. They called him Hercules.
All right, noted.
His ending is a little tragic. So, yeah. So the lady, when the dog came up to him, she went like, like she was gonna smack him, and he attacked her. So that was all before me. So now me coming in the yard at night, and when I think about it, I felt his nose on my hand, and I kind of like raised my hand, like, what the fuck was that? Because I wasn't expecting a dog.
Thought that you were going to.
Exactly, like PTSD. So he just lunged at me. So, unfortunately, that dog attacked the owner's mother.
No.
And they had to put him down.
No. I'm literally going to pretend that I'm 5 years old.
It's super sad.
No, what? He lives forever in Rainbow Village.
All dogs go to heaven.
Yeah. And are you serious?
Yeah, it's sad. Honestly, like,
the dog. You killed the dog.
No, I didn't kill the dog. I was the second out of 3 people it attacked. When it attacks your mom that lives with you, it's a different story. Because that his mom like raised that dog and it attacked her. It's a little bit of a different story, you know. Like at that point, the dog got a little messed up, I think, from all the like the dog attack, and then the two human interactions. It's tragic. That's why I described it that way.
Or
Because
maybe everybody needed to stop touching the sweet, sweet puppy. How about
when I found out, I was like, no,
no?
no.
You really
Eh,
touch my dog. Where are my dogs? Bali, Sophia.
n- Honestly, I can't. My buddy breeds like a type of German Shepherd, but just like they're like black and super wolfy looking. And I want one so bad, which is super weird because of how tragic that attack was and how scarring it was. But they're just such beautiful dogs, and I don't have anything against dogs. I just have some PTSD with dogs right now that I gotta get over.
No, I respect that. Now you're making me want to cuddle my dogs extra hard. Bali.
Sorry.
Well, now you're making me feel like everything's gonna die.
Well, no, that's not true. It's
Well,
not
I
true.
know. You're Ball City. Come here, baby.
Oh, we need a dog appearance anyways. Dog appearances are always
We
good.
do, we really do. I'm gonna go get Ball. Ballroo.
What did Adam say? God damn it. Why did Adam say that? This is why the show is called what it's called, and why there's no punctuation after say. Because you could be asking a question, you could be making an emphatic statement, you could. I'm a mess, y'all. Oh shit, it's already been an hour and a half. Holy fuck. Time flies when you're having a good show. So I guess this is a good opportunity to plug my other shows. So I will be back Monday at 9 p.m. with another band. I'm blanking completely on the name, but they are a local band out of Rhode Island. Be interviewing the lead singer for that. That should be fun. Same format, hour long. Play 3 songs of theirs. Get to interview them. Get to know a little bit more about the artist. That's always pretty fun. If you are an artist or you know an artist that's out there and want to get onto a show, have them hit me up. I'm really surprised that I have yet to have a hip hop artist considering my background. Um, so yeah, and then every Wednesday we're here 9 p.m. Eastern time, with Woke Wednesdays with special guests like Danyka, who's searching for her cute dogs, so we can end the show on a high note. And she's got her Harvard shirt on.
Have it.
Harvard.
Wow.
All right, that's solo.
Oh my goodness, Bali, are you ready to make your debut?
Doggo vision.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
Oh. Oh,
Bali is
Papa.
our sweet, sweet Belgian Malinois from Tel Aviv, rescued, and we met in Toronto.
I could tell how big his just by how big his head is. Oh wow.
Oh, the feels. Oh, the
Oh. Oh, you know what? He kind of looks like my mom's dog Charlie, who is she's German Shepherd, Great Dane, and something else like Bulldog maybe. I can't remember, but she looks a lot like Jasmine, and Jasmine is just like that, a super cuddle bug.
oh, he's so sweet, but he's very like he's interesting because anytime that Sophia even like remotely touches him, he doesn't love it.
It's funny. He was like, "Leave me alone, Mom. I just want to go to bed."
Well, no, he just went to get his roof toy and bring him
Uh,
back.
he's like, "Oh, you got me on a screen. I'm gonna show off. Here's my toy."
Oh, he loves it so much. Yeah.
That's hilarious. While you were gone, I realized that it's been an hour and a half. Holy shit.
Do we not have shit to do?
This is shit to do. It's a conversation, Like
No, it's
this
amazing.
these are the things that I miss throughout this whole shutdown and quarantine and all that fun shit. Not fun
Well,
shit.
I saw you post that, and like you're pushing out your media poll and all that good stuff. So
You're like, sign me up twice.
on your show, and I'll show you Sophia when she's not so annoying.
We'll definitely have to do a part 2 with Nana too, when she's
Oh my God,
available.
and I guess.
Because that'll be cute. Because you were telling me some stories about her, and that'll be fun to tell, like, with her present.
Oh no, you are going to love her stories. We really quick. I will actually let you go. after this, but really quickly, I took her to her first hemp fest in Toronto. We went to an after hours party where it's obviously everybody can smoke weed and all that good stuff. Nana decided that she was also allowed to smoke nicotine and cigarettes. That was a no-go. And somebody was like, hey, you can't do this. But Nana is Nana. And legitimately,
Don't tell me what to do. What the fuck?
she was like, everyone's smoking. They're like, yeah, they're smoking marijuana. And she was like, and what? And I was like, no. And I'm like, it's different. And so each of like the booths had these like beautiful grinders and like all this expensive shit. So she's like, I don't, why? And they were like, no, you can't smoke nicotine. And she was like, okay. And then put the cigarette out in the grinder and I love you. And they were like, are you kidding that you just did that? And she was like, what? It's an ashtray. And they're like, nope, that's a $250 grinder. All the view. All the view.
Wow. I hope they reacted nicely.
Yeah.
She's like, not so much. Poor Nana. Poor Nana. I mean, we all make mistakes. Shit happens. Come on, man. Like, you just gotta be like, I'll wash it out.
No, but the best thing is that you gotta give 0 fucks. I really tried hard not to swear on this segment. Nana did inventory and she was fresh out of.
Swearing is always okay. Swearing is always okay. Can't hold yourself back. But yeah, we definitely got to get part 2 scheduled. So I want to keep talking to you after. That's why I want to end this, because I was like, I want to talk to you about Hawaii and my idea.
Oh my God, yes.
So yes, for all the listeners out there, the millions and millions, where can they find you?
Ooh, you can find me on Instagram, canacollective.inc, or Facebook.
Perfect. And as always, wherever you are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you. Good vibes. Peace out.